Hello. Yeah, I don't normally do the face thing, but there's something that's been bugging me for a while now that I thought I just had to put a face to. It's to do with our lovely friends, the old flat earthers. You know, the people, they're not the idiots, the people who hinge on to this long-standing delusion that they alone are right and they alone have discovered the secrets of the universe. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on one of them, and I've already done a video about him before. Level Earth Observer, whoever he may be. The only thing I know about him for sure is he operates one of those high-rise cranes, which, mad props to him, that is a bloody difficult job to do, and requires a certain skill set, which I personally do not have. But from this highly elevated position, he's obviously looked at his vistas around him and realised, hang on a minute, if I'm so high up, why can't I see the curvature of the Earth? And from that, he's based his entire YouTube channel, basically, um, which is comprehensive. He does post quite a lot. The only problem is he posts the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, repeating the same garbage, the same three, what he calls his fundamentals. See if I can find a little clip and show you what those fundamentals are. But he's got three of them, so let's get started on what they are.
The three fundamentals tell us all. The globe's scientifically impossible. Remember, large standing bodies of water cannot display convexity upon its surface. Tower cranes and pendulums cannot be dead still and plumb whilst doing ludicrous speeds in all different directions. And you can have an air pressure system next to a vacuum without some kind of solid separation between the two.
So here's the first thing he always says is, everybody knows the Earth is scientifically impossible. Now, obviously, everybody, including Max here. Max, is the Earth scientifically impossible?
What do you mean?
Is the Earth possible?
I guess so.
Okay, so have you found any evidence to see that the Earth is not possible?
No.
No, there you go. He's 12 years old. So basically, that's his first sign. The Earth is scientifically possible. We all know. Now, what he's doing there is he's reinforcing his own delusion. He's got it into his head that he thinks that the Earth is scientifically impossible. And the only reason he thinks that is because Eric Dubay said it first. If you don't know who Eric Dubay is, look him up, but brace yourself, because there's a whole world of derp you may not be prepared for. So, the Earth is scientifically impossible, everybody knows. And the reason he says it like that is because he wants other people to reinforce his delusion. So he will say this at the beginning of every video in the hopes that people believe him, so that his own lack of information, I'm not going to say lack of intelligence, lack of information, lack of education with regards to this, other people back him up. So it's like, it's the classic echo chamber, which he's created himself in his YouTube channel. So yeah, so first thing out the door, the Earth is scientifically possible, and we know that the Earth is scientifically possible because the science proves it. Simple. Onto his fundamentals. His first fundamental is,
large standing bodies of water cannot display convexity upon its surface.
Again, this is something else that Eric Dubay said first, as far as I haven't gone that deep into Eric Dubay because I haven't got the brain capacity for it. But one of the things they always say is that large bodies of water can't exhibit a curve. That's it. It's a blanket statement with absolutely nothing to back it up. Now, it's very, very easily disprovable. Is that even a word? Yeah. Here's how. This is my spirit level. I've had it for many years. It's grubby. It's probably got insects living inside it now, actually, because I haven't used it in such a long time. But inside here, I've actually got three of them here. You've got the spirit bubble. What this is a small amount of water. It's quite faded, but there's a tube of liquid plastic. It's slightly convex, and the bubble of air inside shows that water can exhibit a curve. That's the curve right there. If you scale that up, then you get a puddle which you step in a puddle, and then the water ripples. Get in a lake, throwing a stone, it ripples. Water exhibits curves all the time. Get into waves. People go surfing on gigantic waves. That's a large body of water, and you can see the curve in real time. But when they say that large bodies of water, they're talking about large lakes like Lake Michigan or Lake Ontario or the seas they're basically talking about. They reckon that even though water can and demonstrably exhibit a curve over a small area, somehow they think that it can't do it over a large. That's arse backwards. A practical demonstration, because another thing that Level Earth Observer always bangs on about is molecules, the molecular structure. He said it a couple of times. You don't know anything about the molecular structure of water. I contest your knowledge of the molecular construction of water for the very simple reason that if you can do it over this, doing it over large areas is easier. Now, here's a practical demonstration if you're talking about molecular structure over large areas. Level Earth Observer, I know you work in the construction industry. So what I want you to do is find yourself a length of 12mm rebar about that big. Okay, what's that, about 2 or 3 inches? Okay, find yourself a length and then try and bend that with your bare hands. Okay, you will not be able to. You might be able to get a little kink in it, but I mean, 12mm over 3 inches, 75mm, not going to work. Now get a 3 metre length. Bend that with your bare hands. You can do it. I can do it. I do it. I accidentally kick it because I work in an industry where we've got a lot of this lying around. If you accidentally bump against it, it bends because it's 3 meters long. It's much more flexible over a large area. So for you to say that something that easily bends or displays curvature over a very small area, that's about a centimetre, you're saying that that same liquid can't do it over a large area? You don't know what you're talking about. Next, please.
Tower cranes and pendulums cannot be dead still and plumb while still ludicrous speeds in all different directions.
Now, this one is about the conservation of momentum. Conservation is momentum is basically what you get when you're driving in your car and you don't have to hold onto the steering wheel for dear life. If there was no such thing as a conservation of momentum, you would not be able to stand up on a moving train because as it moved forward, you would be trying to stay where you were and you'll be on the floor all the time and skidding along the surface. It makes absolutely no sense. So what you have here is he, again, this is from his workplace, I'm guessing. He sat in his crane and he's seen the crane, the chain or whatever, hanging down, and he's heard somewhere or he's read somewhere or he's learnt it from Eric Dubay that we are wobbling. The Earth is spinning and it is wobbling on this orbit around the Earth, around the Sun, sorry. What it's doing is this. Again, it's the catastrophic misunderstanding of the size of the planet they are standing on. We are this big. If the planet is this big, we are this big. Okay? And that's too big for how big we actually are. If you manage the prick of a needle, no pun intended, sitting on top of, say, a basketball, that would still be too big. That's how small we are. And he doesn't get this. But because of how small we are, and how, while the Earth is large, it's tiny on a universal scale. Even though it is spinning and it's spinning at whatever speed it is, several thousand miles an hour, it's only spinning at 15 degrees an hour. So 24 times 15 is 360. So every hour, 15 degrees, a 15 degree drift.
A 15 degree per hour drift.
I know, right, Bob? Thanks, by the way.
Thanks, Dan. So, what Level Earth Observer has spotted, or what he thinks, is that because we are on a spinning, wobbling, oblate spheroid, hurtling through space at 1,000 miles an hour, hurtling around the sun at several thousand miles an hour, that we should be able to feel it. Now, there's a video he put on one of his, or that he ripped from someone else that he put on his channel, where somebody was on a train moving along the rail, and he had a ball hanging from a piece of string, and the ball was doing this. Well, what do you expect? You're on a train. You are not on a gigantic oblate spheroid moving through space at a constant velocity that does not change and does not deviate. So while we are indeed moving through space, this is how fast we're moving. Okay, this is your 15 degrees in an hour. Okay. No, it is moving. Come back in an hour, and I was moved 15 degrees. Bored yet? Yeah, well, I am. Furthermore, we're moving around the world, around the sun, at 1 degree a day. Actually, it's less than 1 degree a day, because it's 365 days, 366 days to get around the sun. So in one day, on our orbit, even though we're moving 15 degrees an hour, we're also travelling around the sun at 1 degree per day. Now, here we go again. Right. Come back in 24 hours and this will move 1 degree, okay? Trust me. No, I'm bored. So that's his problem. He doesn't understand conservation of momentum. He doesn't understand the size of the planet. And even though we are spinning, and even though we are wobbling, we can't feel it because we are too small and the thing we want is too big and the universe is too large in which it resides. Something else he doesn't understand. Next, please.
And you can have an air pressure system next to a vacuum without some kind of solid separation between the two.
Now this one is actually hilarious. This is my vacuum cleaner. Other brands are available. I need to empty it because it's filthy. That is a vacuum cleaner. That is an electrical device that you plug in and it creates suction. It does not create a vacuum. A vacuum is an absolute void of anything. So if I was to look up vacuum in a dictionary, I get 1, a space entirely devoid of matter. 2, a vacuum cleaner. Hooray! In the Cambridge Dictionary, vacuum, noun, empty space. A space from which most or all of the matter has been removed or where there is little or no matter. Not where there's a massive force or suction. Other synonyms or whatever. Bare, barrenness, blank, clear, cleared, dead, deserted, desolate, emptiness, empty, flat, forlorn, nothingness, uncrowded, uninhabited, unobstructed, unoccupied, vacant or void. Nowhere in that definition does it say suction or force. They honestly cannot tell the difference between a vacuum, which is nothing, and a vacuum cleaner, which is an electrical device used to clean carpets. Altogether, this is, I don't want to say desperate, but it's probably the only way to describe it. When you get to someone like a Level Earth Observer, all he does is parrot the same thing over and over and over again. And despite all of the evidence to the contrary, and how many times he's been discredited, and how many times that all of his 3 fundamentals have been completely shredded, completely torn to pieces, he comes back to it. And he says the same thing again, as if nothing had happened. It's almost as if he's like, who's someone who parrots the same garbage over and over again, surrounded by sycophants who back them up at every possible thing? I can't think of who it might be. Max, have you got it? No.
Maybe.
No. Oh no. That's right, that was a joke. So, it was a cheap shot, I know. But it's as simple as I can make it. You've got somebody who completely ignores all the evidence against them. Every single point they make has been categorically debunked. And yet, they're often pandered to or seen as an object of mirth or merriment. But when you get 2 or 3 of these people together, they always seem to go on to other things. Now, flat earthers, there's a chap who keeps getting invited onto This Morning with Phil and Holly. Can't remember his name. I'll show you the clip. Now, let's sentence at the end, what Phil said. There were much worse things going on, and it doesn't really matter.
You say that they're in on the...
In on it.
Yeah. I say, listen, you know, of all the things that are going on in the world, of everything that's happening, I think we'd all probably cope if someone said, actually, it looks like this.
I think we would too.
Okay, all right, fine.
Now, it's kind of a backhanded thing to the chap on the sofa, but it kind of does matter because flat earther, or flat eartherism, or flirterism, is what I call a gateway conspiracy, where it's harmless enough, they're not harming anybody, but they hold on to this ideal that if the government is lying to us about this, what else are they lying to us about? And that's where you get on to contrails or chemtrails, which is another load of garbage. Or that's when you get onto the anti-vaxxer movement. And that can be dangerous. And when enough of these people get together with this innate mistrust in the government or any kind of authority figure, it gets worse. Because they become their own echo chamber They parrot the same things over and over again. They rile each other up. And when you've got that much distrust all amassed in one area at the same time, an extreme version of that, you get this.
Another thing I would say, Lester, is, as we try to figure out, well, it looks now like the Capitol, the police have been
Pete, let me
unable to
break
hold
away
these
from you
people
a
back.
second, because things are happening very quickly.
The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens.
They no longer have been able to keep them back.
Now, I know that might have been a bit of a leap to go from flat eartherism to that. But it all had to start somewhere. When it all starts from a little spark of innate mistrust in the government, there's only one way for it to go when everybody around you is telling you the same thing. And no one took the time to tell you, look, you're just wrong. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up quite quickly with a simple plea to the subject of this video, Level Earth Observer, wherever you may be. Get help. Because looking at your videos over and over again, you say the same things over and over again, and every single comment section, somebody is telling you where you're wrong. In one of your videos you said that observation isn't demonstration, and you laughed at the person. It is. That's how science works. You observe something being demonstrated. That's how it works. The observation isn't the demonstration. The demonstration is the demonstration. Right, so final thoughts. Level Earth Observer, anyone else in the area, or in the UK especially, I've got an experiment for you, which can actually prove that you are wrong. And you are very wrong. Now I live in the southeast of England, and I live quite close to Folkestone or Dover, all the way up that southeast coast, opposite France. You can see it quite clearly from the White Cliffs of Dover, coming down the A20, all the way into Dover, Cape of Fern, all the way along that top ridge, and even as far back as north of Lymm, on the top of the road up to Canterbury. If you look over to the coast, you can see France. But what you can also see from those vantage points is the Folkestone seafront. So this is a real experiment that you can do yourself, and you will see you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. So the experiment is, if you go down to Dover or Folkestone, normally around the Round Hole Tunnel area, you can see the coast of France, or the cliffs of France in the distance, just beyond the horizon as you look out over the sea. And from that same vantage point, you can see Folkestone seafront. Or if you're doing the Dover end, again, you can see Dover, you can go down to the beach by the docks, you can see the beach there. Now from that vantage point, you can see the coast of France. Down on the coast, or down by the beach, you can't. The closer to sea level you get, the more you dip below the horizon, and so does France. So you can't see it anymore. So that's a simple enough experiment. You probably can't see it where you are, all the way up wherever the hell you are. But if you come down here, make a day of it. It's quite nice down this end of the woods. Go down to Hastings, play golf. So, in conclusion, there's no other way to put it nicely or politely. You are living a lie, and that makes you one of two things. The first one is you're a troll. You know you're wrong. You know you've been disproved, and you're just doing this to wind everyone up. You're taking all your viewers for saps, and you're doing it for the attention. Okay. The second one is you strongly believe everything you're saying, and if that is indeed the case, then I please strongly urge you to get help. Everything you say is wrong. Every claim you make is wrong. Trying to reinforce it by repeating the same thing over and over and over again is lunacy. All three of your fundamentals get blasted out of the water every single time you mention them. You're lying about the Earth being scientifically impossible. It's just nonsensical garbage. And then you finish all your videos with the line, something along the lines of tested and verifiable by all.
Demonstrable facts that can be tested and verified by all, which prove the globe scientifically impossible.
How? What's the criteria? The only way to demonstrate to you how water can stick to an amazingly large object with its own gravitational field is to make another amazingly large object that managed to generate its own gravitational field and then throw water at it. That's impossible and you know it is. So the vacuum thing in space, that's laughable, that's hilarious. And the thing about the wobbling chain, you just don't know how small you are. I know you think you're large, because loads of people keep telling you are, and your ego certainly is. But the very fact of the matter is, we are very, very, very tiny speck of nothing on an amazingly large oblate spheroid hurtling through space at speeds, and it's wobbling, but it's doing it in such a way we can't feel it. We never have, because you don't know what conservation of momentum is. That's all I'm going to say. I know I've rambled on a bit here, and I'm going to have to edit the crap out of this. But to any other people who still kind of wobbling about the flat Earth, no pun intended, try not to get sucked into rabbit holes. Try to stay out of the echo chambers, because down that road insanity lies, and danger, because it really is one step from believing in a flat Earth to believing that vaccines are going to kill you, and nobody wants that. I know I don't. I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated, aren't you, Max?
Yeah.
Luke's had 2, I've had 3, he's had 1. Okay, so I'm going to sign off now. Thanks very much for watching. Apologies for my appearance, and I won't go into details of how rudimentary this little setup is. There's an ironing board involved. Let's just leave it at that. To the people who this is aimed at, please pay attention to real science, because one day you're going to get hurt badly, and it's not going to be our fault because we try to warn you. Tone the ego down a bit. That's half your problem. You've got too many people telling you you're right when you're just so very, very obviously wrong, and always have been. The evidence is there, you just don't want to see it. Get yourself out of the echo chambers, start doing some research. Reminder, YouTube and Facebook, that's not research, that's hearsay.
We can't use the mainstream media as a tool of education, because it's used for exactly the opposite.
And final point, Level Earth Observer. Don't respond to this, because I'm going to take you in this. Don't respond to this with the same garbage you put on every single response. The Earth is scientifically possible. Water can curve over an amazingly large plane because it's a lot easier to do it over a small one. You don't understand the concept of conservation of momentum, which is why you don't understand why chains don't wobble. And the vacuum of space isn't a Dyson. Thanks for watching. See you later.